Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Control Report Podcast, episode 138. Benjamin Yoder here today, very early in the morning, to talk to you about video games. Ever since I got back from Japan, I've kind of had a weirdly almost correct sleep schedule, and then something always seemed to throw it off. Basically, I was going to sleep around 11 all week, and it was good, and I was feeling good. And then the weekend came, or really it was more like Thursday night after I streamed, and I just had so much energy and could not sleep, and didn't get to bed till 2 in the morning. And then it just kind of continued through the weekend. So here I am, 5 in the morning, still can't sleep. So I was like, well, I can't sleep. Come out here and record a podcast. So we'll see. Hopefully I can fix my sleep schedule. I have work tomorrow, so I'll need to figure that out. But I figured, I didn't want to spend too much time lingering on the Japan stuff, so I think last week was probably the most we'll really talk about it as a focus. So if there's something in particular you want to know about, let me know. I'll try to figure something out. But for now, my main focus is to go ahead and get main videos going. I went ahead and looked over the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Golden Country of Torna script, and thankfully it's pretty good looking, I think. So I don't have any major complaints about it, which is my bigger concern would be, I hadn't looked at it for a month and I'd come back and be like, oh, this is awful. But I just had some minor edits. So that script is pretty much done outside of the more sentence structure editing and making sure, I don't repeat words too often, things like that. So that's what I'm working on right now. And then once that's done, I can go ahead and record the audio and then begin editing the video. When it will be done, I would say early February at the earliest, but we'll see. Try my best. And I'm also trying to get another video going. I think I'm going to go ahead and do a video on a Tokudoll, a full video. So I went ahead and started writing a script for that, and it's kind of it's kind of all over the place, but sometimes that's how it is. This Golden Country Torna script started all over the place, and I'm finally in a happy place with it. So right now I'm really just dumping information on a sheet, and then I kind of actively reorganize it while I'm working on it. So I'm working on that. Although, kind of a side note to this, I know this is a very exciting start of a podcast, me talking about all the stuff I'm working on. So the Tokudoll gameplay I got is not compatible with my video editor, and I don't really know why. They're MP4 files, so they should work. I wonder if it has something to do with the audio, but I have no idea. So basically, I try to drop it into I use Movie Studio Platinum or something like that, and old video editing software. And it just I can't take this file. So basically, I gotta find a way to convert them. And so the cheapest and easiest way to do that would be just to upload them all to YouTube. So I went ahead and I've made a second channel. It's a One Control Report archiving channel. I haven't put the link out there to it yet, and I haven't really branded it or anything yet. So, but I started uploading a Tokudoll gameplay there, and I'm gonna just dump all those on the internet, try to re-download them, and then see if that whatever format it comes back down from YouTube fixes whatever problems there were. Either way, I'll get the video working somehow. The video exists and it's there, and I'm sure I could figure it out. Or worst case scenario, try for that one video, maybe try a trial version for a subscription video editing software. Do the work on that, and then maybe I can decide if I want to move on to a new video editing software or just go back to my trash fire one. Although Movie Studio Platinum, the version I use, generally does everything I need it to do. I don't do a lot of intensive editing, so for the most part, it's been fine. So those are kind of the two big things, and I guess it's good to go ahead and lead with that because I know it's been a very long time since I put out a more formal video. I don't remember when that Chibi Robo video came out, but it was pretty dang long ago. It may be almost half a year ago. I mean, August was when I put my Hunex Fighters 98 video out. So yeah, it's been a while. Anyways, so that's coming, and hopefully in the near future I'll have the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 stuff, assuming there's our Golden Country Torna stuff, assuming nothing gets in the way. I did play some games this weekend. Finally, we got back into God Eater 2 as a multiplayer thing. I had been playing a little bit of the single player stuff for character episodes, just as kind of a good get back in the groove of playing games kind of thing, because I have a lot of things that are kind of just lingering at the moment between, I'll get to some of it later, but But yeah, so I was like, let me just do some character episodes in God Eater 2. When I did that, the defense unit character episodes are really good in God Eater 2. So if you haven't done those, I would recommend them. They actually flesh out the God Eater resurrection characters quite a bit. There's like those new type God Eaters that came in like halfway through the story. And in God Eater 1, they don't really have a lot going on. I mean, they do have like some story quests, but it's pretty light. I remember it being mainly like text-based, and it just kind of felt kind of not whole in a lot of ways. God Eater 2 really, gives them their own cutscenes, a series of cutscenes, and give them all a pretty decent plot. And then at the end of all of them, you get like a one central plot or quest that involves all of them, and kind of, it makes them seem more important, because I think those characters get lost in the background pretty often. So I think the character, or having that quest line was good. I think I did look up a little bit of God Eater 2 information, and I think those quests were originally downloadable content for the original God Eater 2, and then in God Eater 2 Rage Burst, they just included them as like character episodes. But yeah, I really enjoyed that, and we basically started the next major plot line in God Eater 2. We've been in the second phase of the game already. If you don't know, I'm gonna have to explain this again. God Eater 2 and God Eater 2 Rage Burst, there's like the beginning story of God Eater 2, and Rage Burst was the re-release which added new story in. So I'm in the Rage Burst part of the story now. But I've been in there for a little bit, but there's just nothing really has been going on plot-wise, so this is the finally we got started with the plot stuff. It's mainly been mechanical changes, which thankfully those came in, because original, like the first part of God Eater 2 is kind of dull because there just isn't that much you can do mechanically in that game. And I think that's somewhat similar to how God Eater 1 was as well, but I don't quite remember kind of the flow of how God Eater 1 deals out its power-ups and stuff, or its enhanced abilities, I guess, and stuff. So I am enjoying God Eater 2 quite a bit more now that I'm in the Rage Burst section, which I'm glad. The only regret I have really is that I use the Scythe, and the Scythe isn't particularly good at like being strategic. It's more or less just a giant smack everything and deal damage weapon. And I basically just burn through bosses, and it's kind of mashy, but it's fine. I'm still having a good time. I'm still enjoying the style of that game quite a bit. So, and then I also, after we played God Eater 2, my friend was like, "Hey, let's try Phantasy Star Portable PSP through Ad Hoc Party." Which, if you remember, I actually tried this a while ago with another friend who lives on the East Coast. I live on the West Coast right now. And unfortunately didn't work very well. But this other friend that I'm doing it with, he lives on the West Coast, the north side of the West Coast. I'm in Las Vegas, so I'm further down south. And he and that actually worked out pretty dang well. The only problem was two problems. One, you can't play the story multiplayer, which I knew, but apparently he was like, "Oh no, I wanted to do this like as a story mode thing together." And I was like, nope, not happening in this game. You have to play story alone." The other thing is that his PSP was his screen was dying, and so we were playing it, but he was like, "Man, I can't see like half of what's going on." So he has a 2000, so he could do video out, but I just don't think he was really liking the game that much. But oh man, I don't know what it is about that game, but it really immediately scratched an itch for me, and I was like pumped to play that game. I was like, I am ready to play some Phantasy Star Portable, and I was like ready to just commit to it again. But sounds like we probably won't put any more time into it, which is fine. I actually, when I was in Japan, got a copy of Phantasy Star Nova for the PlayStation Vita. I think there might be a menu translation patch for that game. I have to double check, but I haven't hacked my Vita yet. And then I also have Phantasy Star Portable 2 Infinity on the PSP. Don't know what the fan translation status of that game is, but so I've got things to play, and then obviously PSO2 is free on the PC or whatever. I actually was like trying to talk to my friend a little bit about like why I don't like PSO2. It's not that I don't know. It's not that I don't like PSO2, but it's like it's never grabbed me, and I don't know why. And like when I jumped in PSP, I was like, oh, super excited. But when I go to PSO2, I don't feel that way. And it's not like Final Fantasy 14 where there's like I feel like even though I don't have a great explanation of why I don't like things in Final Fantasy 14, I can kind of pick out the things that bother me. PSO2, nothing really stands out to me as wrong, so I don't know what the problem is for me with that. But yeah, so did that, had a lot of fun with that, recorded a little bit of gameplay while I could. I don't know when I'll ever get to do multiplayer Phantasy Star Portable gameplay with somebody ever again, but Yeah, we'll see. And then also, I played a little bit more of The Wizard of Oz and the Yellow Brick Road. I kind of want to finish that game up. It's not a long RPG. I think I'm about a third of the way through it. Um, and or maybe halfway through it actually at this point. And I love the style of that game, but yeah, I think you'd get more, or at least I would get more enjoyment out of it, just like looking through an art book or something, or having a bunch of the art saved on my computer or something like that. And I think I do have actually quite a bit of art of that game saved on my computer from back when they were promoting the game. But yeah, I'm just not loving the gameplay very much. It's pretty simple. They try to do some interesting things, but I don't think it amounts to anything. I think I talked about it last week or a week before that or something, and I think it was last week. And yeah, I don't know. I think I'll try to beat it though, just because it's a short enough game, and I'm already a good ways through. So kind of going forward, game wise, definitely Wizard of Oz is something I'm planning on doing. God Eater is gonna still remain in the background per usual. Shenmue 3, I need to get back to, so that is a high priority item for me. I'm not sure if I'll focus on the Wizard of Oz before I get to Shenmue 3. And then we got to get back to Shining Resonance. One other thing is that I forgot that I need to get back to Final Fantasy 15 Comrades as well. I had a conversation with somebody about Final Fantasy 15 Comrades this weekend. I was like, oh yeah, that's something I gotta do. So that is on the list of things. Got a busy 2020 of things left over from 2019, unfortunately. So yeah. One other thing I kind of want to do this year, or at least in the near term, is I kind of talked about it last year a bit, but I stopped watching Giant Bomb content so much, and Giant Bomb content's super long, and stuff, and it kind of left a giant hole in my have things on in the background while I do other things. And so, AGDQ was happening the week that I was stuck in Japan, but I did catch the back half of it, and I've been catching up by watching, some of the runs that I thought was interesting. Dr. Hauser, I like that run. I was surprised how slow that runs on an actual 3DO. I've only ever seen Dr. Hauser running on a emulator, and that game runs way faster on an emulator. It's kind of crazy. If you don't know Dr. Hauser, I actually have a clip of it in my Team Innocent video. But Dr. Hauser is like a 3DO, I don't know if you call it a survival horror thing. It's kind of like a puzzle mansion thing. A lot of instant deaths, kind of similar to Dragon's Crown in some ways. Not really similar gameplay wise, but just like everything wants to kill you kind of thing. But yeah, and I started watching some Zelda runs and stuff, and I was like, I think maybe a good way to invest my have something on in the background time is to go back to speed runs. I used to be very involved in watching speed runs, I guess. Being kind of mixing with the speed gamers, I kind of was around that space and kind of kept watching that stuff. The big thing is I don't really know a ton of runners that I want to follow today, so I kind of looked at a few, or kind of followed a few of the runners that I saw at AGDQ that I liked, and hopefully that amounts to something, but we'll see. I might just get bored of it in the next couple weeks and then go back to watching Titanic documentaries over a whole weekend. So I don't know. Anyways, that's kind of update on stuff right now. Also watching Pat Labor still. Watch the first episode of the second set of DVD or Blu-rays. So still Pat Labor. But yeah, news wise, let me see what we got here. Something I found kind of interesting. I think most of the news stories this week are things that you've probably heard at this point, because they are kind of semi-mainstream. I'd say mostly mainstream news stories. One is that the Xbox One X won't have, and this was I think on the 10th, so it's been 10 days since this, but Xbox One X won't have exclusive games in the first year or two, which I think is about on in line with what Microsoft is doing right now, where they just kind of want to get their games to as many people as possible through PC, Game Pass, things like that. And then meanwhile, Sony's saying on PlayStation 5 they are going to have exclusives for the first year or two, which I think I think that's kind of interesting, because obviously the PlayStation 5 is doing a more traditional approach, and then Microsoft's doing this other approach. That's kind of interesting that we're seeing this divergence in strategy from the beginning. My only real fear with and not really fear, I guess, it doesn't really matter to me. Well, I guess I do want the Xbox to do well, because I think, Sony being the number one position, any company being the number one position, really gives them the power to be kind of a bully. So you kind of want to get, even footing, so they have to kind of be competitive with each other, rather than, have Sony fighting against multi-platform multiplayer this whole generation, like they did this time around. But yeah, I think my worry would be that, you know, you don't get that early install base for the Xbox like you would with a launch system typically, and I wonder if that will discourage people from focusing on Xbox Series X, whatever. I think the new one's just called Xbox. The new Xbox games, like if it just be kind of like an afterthought kind of thing, or nobody will like build a game specifically targeted to that machine for right now. But at the same time, if PlayStation 5 is around, I'm sure both systems people are gonna be targeting, so it probably will be fine. I just worry that it will like hamper sales early on in the first year or two, and that might like stunt its growth a little bit. But you know, I would imagine they've considered that and have data that's like, no, this is good for us kind of thing. It'll be super interesting to see how these two like fight it out side by side. If they're very similar otherwise, other than this like, you know, software plan between the two, I think that's pretty cool. That and there's like Game Pass and stuff, but yeah. And the other thing is that like typically launch games generally aren't of a great quality overall. I mean, they're usually okay, but like very rarely do people like remember launch games as like a platform's like leading titles. Like, what was the 3DS launch library? It's like Steel Diver, Nintendogs, and Pilot Wings. And PlayStation 4 had like Killzone Liberation. That sounds like a video game. Knack? That's also a video game. What did Xbox even have? Probably like a Forza game. Maybe a Gears of War. It's been a while for the latest Xbox, but yeah. I mean, first year or two of a system is generally when the growing pains are happening. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out for Microsoft. I'll be curious to see how it turns out. And you know, because they have everything on Game Pass, it's like super easy to access all those games and stuff. Yeah, I'm really interested in seeing how Microsoft, you know, handles this whole thing. I really hope they succeed. I really hope both succeed, so we have like an equal playing ground. And like, if they both succeed on two different models, that's kind of fun. Other semi-mainstream, but maybe not as mainstream, is I had quite a few people reach out to me about this over the week. But there's a someone at business and development at Sega. I guess started randomly tweeting about Skies of Arcadia. I'm not sure how it really came about, and how much he liked Skies of Arcadia, and then people like were massing all over that post, and then so he got super excited. He's like, I want to make a sequel, or I want a sequel to be made. So it's kind of exciting to see. I think the biggest things there's two things here. Let's start with this, like the idea of a sequel. The kind of the problem with Skies of Arcadia is that whole game is about exploring the entire world. You even go to the moon at some point, and you kind of explore every nook and cranny of that planet. Maybe the exception being the area under the like I forget what it's called, but there's like a layer of clouds that once you get below, there's like a level of pressure, and you don't really do anything down there. Like there is a part of the game where you go down there, but it's very restrictive. I think in two different cases, I think there's like some battle that goes on down there, and then I think there's one where you like go around and like exploring these like ruins, and you can find like some sunken ships and stuff down there. But yeah, so there's not really a ton left to explore. I guess you could do like a time jump kind of thing and kind of revisit those areas to some extent. But yeah, I just don't know what we really do without like, you know, just making a entirely new thing that's separate. I mean, and you can do that. I mean, look at Final Fantasy. So like, it's not you know, locked into, oh, we have to directly reference these characters. But I feel like at this point, if you were to make a new Skies of Arcadia, there would be a lot of temptation to do a lot of like throwback stuff to the original game, and I think you'd have to kind of build that game very close in terms of, you know, the story and involving Vice, Ica, and Fina, even if they're not the main characters, you know, having them be present in some form kind of thing. The other side of this is whether or not this is required before a sequel happens, they still haven't re-released Skies of Arcadia outside of, you know, the GameCube version. That was the last re-release of Skies of Arcadia. I think there was originally going to be a PS2 version as well before it got canceled. I could be wrong. I feel like at some point there was a PS2 version that was listed way back when. But anyways, I mean, it didn't come out. I know that for sure, if it did existed. But yeah, we haven't really had a re-release of Skies of Arcadia at this point. And the thing is that like Sega doesn't seem super interested in re-releasing the Dreamcast games very often. There was a brief period of time during the Xbox 360 and PS3 era where they did Sonic Adventure, Sega Bass Fishing, Space Channel 5 Part 2, and Crazy Taxi. I think those are the 4 games, and maybe a couple more, but they just haven't really bothered, and it's kind of frustrating. Like I know, like the Sega Genesis is the golden years of Sega, but you have the Saturn, which I know is a technical nightmare, and they are remaking those games through some other developers, or a couple of those games. But they just haven't really spent a lot of time on their 3D library and re-releasing those games. And I really feel like Skies of Arcadia would be... it's a good game. Like, whether it's sell or not, I don't know. But like, Skies of Arcadia is a great game, and I feel like it was a really missed opportunity not re-releasing it in HD in some way. But yeah, I don't know. So I would like a Skies of Arcadia HD someday. I would probably buy it. Whether or not I'd play it is a whole other thing. But yeah, I mean, it would be great if they released something Skies of Arcadia related. Twitter rumblings of people, shouting and stuff is quite a different thing than people actually buying that thing. I think Skies of Arcadia is popular within certain circles, but when it comes to like a mainstream, I don't think there's a big mainstream interest in Skies of Arcadia. But hey, I'll be really excited if they do something. While I was in Japan, while I was at Comic-Con, I bought 2 Skies of Arcadia doujins. There was like a 10th anniversary doujin and a 15th anniversary doujin. They're pretty cute. Actually, I think the 15th anniversary had some US artists who worked on it, and they have like US comments in there. I think somebody else in there was like, hey, they couldn't make a sequel as well. I think somebody pretty much said exactly what I've always thought about making a Skies of Arcadia sequel. But yeah, so yeah, maybe someday. I mean, I love Skies of Arcadia. I would love to see it come back, but it's the same way that when people were like, talking about Wave Race coming back and stuff, it's just like, yeah, but why? What level does this work? I think Skies of Arcadia HD is a no-brainer. Just do it. It probably won't lose you a lot of money. If it fails, probably it's not going to not make you a lot of money either. But it'd be great to like just test the brand out there again and just see like what kind of interest happens, and if people like the game. I like Skies of Arcadia, but that, and make a definitive version of that game, because there's some weird stuff between the Dreamcast and the GameCube version. So. And then finally, the last news story here is that Mobius Final Fantasy will be ending in June. I think in March in Japan, but June in the global market. This game represents a major problem of mine where I never play mobile games, and I always look at them and go, oh yeah, I should play that. And then eventually they get shut down and I can't play them anymore. And I'm like, oh no. Final Fantasy Grandmaster is a big one. Square Enix shuts down a lot of mobile games. But yeah, I think the Mobius Final Fantasy has been around for a while. I think it might have came out like 2017 in the US. Maybe before that. Maybe it's been a lot longer than I remember. But yeah, I always wanted to check it out, and I just never got around to it. Unfortunately, there's just so many mobile games that you just got to kind of pick and choose, and that would have been a cool one to check out, but I don't know if I probably will not be able to get around to it unless somebody builds some kind of private server kind of thing. I'll be curious to see how many mobile games over time get preserved in like an unofficial capacity. Because on PC we typically have like private servers for a lot of games, even some of the smaller stuff. But with like mobile phone games, there's so many, and so many rely on a network connection, and I don't know how many people are capturing like the data packets and stuff, and like almost any game these days, like if it has some kind of online hook, it almost doesn't. It just basically doesn't work in a lot of cases. Like, what is Death Stranding when the servers go down? It'll be very, very, I don't know. Anyways, modern video game problems. Mobius Final Fantasy, rest in peace. I'm glad. I guess you were somewhat successful. I feel like the game did well. I don't really know. I have a friend who plays Grand Blue Fantasy, and he talks about it a lot. And I'm like, maybe I should look at Grand Blue Fantasy rather than playing like random Japanese mobile games. Like, my last adventure was into DMM games, and I was like, I'm gonna play Chain Chronicles. and played that in Japanese, and like, well, I can't appreciate this. Speaking of DMM games, they're releasing Blue Reflection and Knights of Azure 1 and 2 on DMM games, which I think is kind of interesting. I had originally pulled this news story, but I didn't talk about it, or I took it off my list because I was like, I won't talk about it. But now that I'm bringing up DMM games, I wonder if DMM games will ever expand outside of Japan. Like, it's a pretty small PC service, and Steam has gotten a level of interest in Japan. I really don't know what the current like Steam user base looks like from Japan, because I know for a while it was just like non-existent, and then there was a push, and it seemed like a lot of Japanese games ended up on Steam, but I don't know like if the average user today uses Steam in Japan or not. Kind of curious, like, is it growing, or did it just kind of get to where it got and then just stayed there? I don't know. PC launchers, get DMM games so it can constantly prompt you to update, and then when you uninstall, it just gives you an error every time you turn your PC on, like mine does. And I have the Inori Aizawa Internet Explorer. What were they called? They're like there's like the Windows girls. I forget what they're called. God, OS-tan or something like that. But yeah, I had the Internet Explorer Inori Aizawa. And she, every time I turn my computer on, Demon Games goes, "Oh no, an error." And she goes, "Oh, seems like a system error." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I also have the Chobits desktop accessory on. So I get, "Oh, seems like a system error. Ohayo gozaimasu," from the other girl. My PC is anime girl voices. I really need to change the desktop accessory. I'm kind of tired of that Chobits lady. Whew. That's it for this week. Thanks for coming. In terms of content, the weekly content's not really going to be anything special. I think I told you last week, I'm going to focus on these videos for now, because I got to get some of these longer videos out or moving so I can get them out. Cause there hasn't been anything in a long time, and I really need to move forward on those. Cause that's kind of the whole point of me, focusing on the YouTube, is to get those out. So yeah, this last week, I streamed Wii and 3DS games I picked up while I was in Japan. I really need to sit down and think about stream plans. I'm not really sure. So I'm kind of on the edge of a few things here. One, we can go back to Kaminazo, but the last time I played Kaminazo, I was kind of unhappy, just because I'm not very good at puzzle games, and I feel the stress to make progress on stream, and I end up cheating is what happens. So I don't know if we'll do any more Kaminazo streaming. Martian Gothic we need to get back to. And then also we need to do some more Nintendo Labo building stuff. The other thing, I may have already said this or not, I don't remember. I picked up like a bunch of games at Comiket. So I wouldn't mind doing like a Comiket game stream. And, I'm tempted to do that next week. The only problem is that they're PC games. So I'd have to go ahead and install them. And I don't have a ton of free space on my main drive where I install games, so I might have to either free up some space, and I had to kind of like, filter through what I have, also make sure none of it is, gonna be a problem streaming it. I think I only have 2 games that would be problems based off their cover arts, but I think the rest would probably be fine. And, because I'm switching between PC game applications, I really don't know how the stream will go in that case. I may set a handful of games aside and just put them on my desk, look at them, see if I can get all of them installed, and then we go from there. Just pick out anything that looks the most interesting. And the other thing is, because I'm running the games, how will my PC handle streaming and running the games at the same time? So we shall see. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for coming. OneControlReport.com is the website. Podcasts, if you don't know, podcasts go up every Monday at 9 a.m. PST. And then streams happen every Thursday at 7 p.m. PST. And then I post the VODs of the stream up on the website, usually at 9 a.m. PST on Friday. Sometimes if I go to bed early the night before I get like everything, fitted together, I will get a little late on posting it until like Friday afternoon or Saturday morning. So yeah. But that's it. Thanks again for coming. I hope you have a great week. Bye.